The trial for a 4-day week is set to kick off later this month. And a study by Citrix shows that 9 in 10 employees would accept a 4-day week if it was offered by their employers. But hardly surprisingly, only 16% would take a pay cut. Well, Citrix's return to work office research study also found that a 4-day work week could help employers win the talent war, with over half of Australian office workers agreeing it would be a good way to retain employees. Those who wouldn't accept a 4-day work week, 33% said they're happy with flexibility they already have, with 30% worried that employers would take benefits away. Well, joining us to talk about the research Citrix study found is Managing Director Martin Cregan. Morning, Martin.
Good morning, Michael.
Well, you say it's clear that employees want to be empowered to do their best work wherever and wherever they want. How do we make sure that that's happening, and how do we get employers to empower them?
Well, first of all, I think it's fantastic that that organizations are looking at ways on a continual basis of making work more flexible and more productive for our employees. So that's what this 4-day work week trial is all about, is how can we continue to look at ways to meet the needs of our employers. And that's what the research was all about as well, is what our employers, our knowledge workers specifically, the 1,000 that we interviewed, what are they looking for? So the 4-day work week is a concept that's running right now. So over in the UK, they're doing a 6-month trial with 70 different companies to see how this 4-day work week will actually pan out. And here, as you mentioned, Michael, here in Australia, we're doing that this month in August. We're kicking off a trial of 20 companies across Australia and New Zealand to also figure out, is 4-day work week achievable? And if it is achievable where, across what industries, and how much impact will it actually have? So I think the key is what you started with, though, which is how do we make sure that the workplace is flexible and secure and meeting the needs of our employees and future employees and talent. And I think that's absolutely key. So I'm really keen on finding results, or watching the results of these trials that are taking place right now.
Surely our productivity gains that we've had with technology, we're no longer waiting for faxes to print out, and all of those things mean that we can be more productive in shorter amounts of time. Surely there's got to be a point where we can achieve what needs to be done as far as output goes without being physically in the office 5 days a week anymore.
Yeah, I think if you add that with things like, and we talked about this on one of our last meetings, take the cut the commute, or cut the time of the commute. And then if you actually look at, where people are working in regards to hours and how that suits them and how that meets their lifestyle and their family commitments, I think we are seeing that tech and innovation is powering the way we work. So technology like Citrix Desktop as a Service is providing the innovation, the flexibility, and the choice that employees want to do their best work wherever they are. So the 4-day work week, in my opinion, is a continuation of that. But I also think we need to realize, Michael, this isn't new. And what I mean by that is it's new in the concept of 4-day work week, maybe for knowledge workers or office workers, as we call them. But 4-day work week has been around for a long time for shift workers. So if we take a look at the airlines or pilots and flight attendants, or if we take a look at my favorite example is the medical industry with doctors and nurses. There's plenty of nurses, as an example, that will work 4 12-hour shifts in a week, and they've been doing that for years, and that's been their schedule. Then they get that 3 days off as downtime, and they've been able to be productive and so on. But I think the key differential here, Michael, is in those industries and in those examples, we're talking about hour-based working. We're talking about somebody putting in, as I mentioned, if it's a nurse, 4 12-hour shifts in a week, or you might get some dock workers, as an example, down the ports who are doing 4 10-hour days a week. It's hour-based activity. What we're really looking at is a 4-day work week with productivity-based activity or outcomes-based activity, and how's that going to suit the knowledge workers and the office workers going forward, and can we make that happen? I think there's an opportunity for us to do it, and I'm really keen on seeing the results.
You would think too, though, Martin, even with those hour-based outputs that you mentioned, if you could spread those into 4 days or squeeze them into 4 days instead of 5, you've saved 1 day worth of commute on either side of it. So the incidental part of work the non-paid part of work or non-productive part of work is minimized as well.
Absolutely. And I think you get even more benefits. One of the biggest challenges that we're seeing right now in the workforce is the ability to switch off. How do we get give our employees and future employees the opportunity to get that mental break, to get that digital downtime, as we like to call it. So that's why I'm keen on seeing the results of the 4-day work week and see how it works for knowledge workers and office workers, because we can get into a system where we're outcomes focused and productivity based activities are driving those outcomes, and we can do that in 4 days. And that gives all of us an extra day to shut down, spend time with family, get a mental break, etc. I think it'll be really good for a lot of folks.
Now, interestingly, your research shows that the most important part of any hybrid work model isn't the number of days worked, it's creating work from anywhere experiences that are seamless and collaborative. Tell us more about that, Martin.
Yeah, I think that's a key aspect of it, and that's why I said I'm so keen on seeing the results. What we're seeing, Michael, is people want flexibility, number one, and you may recall in one of our last discussions we talked about the trinity of workplace success being flexibility, choice, and innovation. So flexibility being what days do I work in the office or do I work in a remote location? Choice being I get to choose those days, and then the tech or the innovation being the tech that powers my ability to work securely from any location on any device in a remote manner. So from a Citrix point of view, what we're saying is the flexibility aspect is the absolute key. And the research is also telling us, the folks are saying, hey, listen, there's about 30%, almost a third of the 7% of folks that said they wouldn't accept the 4-day work week. They basically said that I'm happy with the flexibility I have. Work has given me the flexibility I need to work remotely, work from home, work in the office when I need to, on the days that I need to, and I have the tech to support that. So we think at Citrix, we think that's the most important key, is having the flexibility to give your workforce the choice of where they work, when they work, and how they can do their best work. What device, what location, etc. doesn't matter. Provide them the tech or the innovation, give them that flexibility and choice, and you're going to have the happiest employee.
Sounds so obvious, doesn't it? Now, someone way smarter than me, obviously, and I can't remember who to attribute it to, said that the future is already here. It's not evenly distributed. How do we get this across all workplaces, or will workplaces be forced to catch up with this because they'll need to, as we've already spoken about, attract and retain talent?
Yeah, our technology, the desktop as a service technology, is just absolutely taking off. And it has been for the last 2 years. And what we're seeing is, unfortunately, we're seeing things like the pandemic or COVID that we're starting to drive, the takeoff, if you will, or the spike and users being remote. As you know, we went from one day, all of our folks, the average enterprise, Michael, had about anywhere from 15 to 20% of their folks working remotely on one day. The next day, almost, as COVID came about, 100% of their workforce was working remotely. So it really made organizations, and it drove organizations to think about remote work differently. In that process, and what we've seen over the last couple of years, is as many enterprises and organizations actually caught up with the tech very quickly because they had no choice. But interestingly enough, now what they're doing is looking at the tech and saying, hey, hang on a second, this really works. We're seeing better productivity, better outcomes, happier employees, better staff retention, better employee acquisition capabilities, et cetera, by offering this flexibility. So to your point, to get it out and get it distributed, I think number one is we need to share the good news with folks on channels like this. So thank you for doing it. On channels like this, share the good news of distributed work. And most importantly, we need to empower employees to work from anywhere, on any device, any location of their choice. But we also need to make sure that we're giving them the capability to do that securely. And that's what the tech like DaaS or desktop as a service is doing for us today. So the more that people embrace that technology, and the more that we're actually giving our workforce that capability or flexibility, as we call it, that flexibility, that choice, and we're supplying the tech, then we're going to see this technology really grow in the marketplace, and hopefully want to see more people using it and having the flexibility they need to be successful.
What a fantastic point to finish on, Martin. So Martin Cregan, Managing Director of Citrix, thanks so much for your time and insights.
Thanks, Michael. I appreciate it.